Many thanks for joining us on KTN Prime. I'm Linda Oguto, our sign language interpreter. At the bottom end of your screen is William Sila.
Welcome to the program. I'm Ben Kitili.
Let's begin in Elgeyo Marakwet, where 3 governors were caught up in protests today. The 3 governors are Uasin Gishu's Jackson Mandago, Kwale's Salim Mvurya, and Alex Tolgos of Elgeyo Marakwet. And the protests were about the poor state of roads by matatu operators. KTN's Mercy Kandie has that.
This is the main reason why residents could not travel to Marakwet. The matatu strike that saw all the public service vehicle operators plying that route refusing to take any passengers until the poor roads are repaired, especially during this rainy season. But the demo got interesting when 3 governors were caught up in the protest. Uasin Gishu County Governor Jackson Mandago, his Kwale counterpart Salim Mvurya, and Elgeyo Marakwet County Governor Engineer Alex Tolgos. This being his region, the governor tried to convince the matatu operators to open the road.
Wacha upusi bwana, aidha tuongee ama muende. Nyinyi namna gani? Viongozi wenu waongee, tusikie vile mnataka, ama kama hamtaki, sisi tuko na shughuli zingine. Nataka munisikize vizuri.
The irate matatu operators blocked a section of the busy Iten Eldoret highway for over 2 hours, protesting poor state of roads linking the area.
Ndugu yangu Mandako wako hapo, na hiyo karibu 70% ya hiyo barabara ni yake. Na nafikiri iko mpango mzuri. Shida tu ni wakati kidogo yenye bado highway. Na pesa ambayo Chinese amepewa pesa ya diversion. Hakuambiwa aweke mara barabara yenye Tolgos ametengeneza na convert iwe diversion. Hiyo haiwezekani.
Hii vitu inaitwa kera, imetukera. Barabara mbaya kwa kaunti zote ni za kera. Hata kule kwangu zile niko na tabu ni za kera.
Jambo muhimu ambalo limefanyika, mumepata viongozi wenu hawa, mmezungumza nao na ujumbe umefika. Na ndio maana tunasema lazima tulinde ugatuzi.
Travelers were also affected. They all had to walk to their destination. Mandago and Mvurya were on their way for a courtesy visit to Governor Tolgos in Iten. The matatu owners claim that they have incurred losses as a result.
Barabara anasema naenda Marakwet mkutano. Mkutano gani unaenda na unajua barabara ni mbaya? Chungesimama kwa njia siendi hiyo mkutano kwa sababu barabara ni mbaya. Anaenda wapi? Na barabara ni mbaya. Na anatukuta tunakwama. Na anasema wewe wazee piteni tu. Sisi tunapita wapi? Gari yake ni 4 wheel. Na yetu hii inaendelea kuisha. Tutaendelea kuunda hii magari yetu mpaka lini?
It took the combined effort of the 3 leaders and a host of members of county assembly to calm down the protesters who in turn turned their hate on Kera. Mercy Kandie for KTN.
Let's move away from the drama in the North Rift now. How did a teenage girl from a Nairobi estate find links with and eventually travel to join up with a terrorist group in another continent? As KTN's Yanofula explains, it is so easy that even a vigilant Kenyan parent may be caught unawares when their child decides to make the terror crossing.
With basic computer skills, wait, let's get a bit more specific with the basic. With a simple handset, one can access thousands of sites with lots of information. One can even simply be enrolled to a terrorist organization group from the comfort of their homes or office. Possibly to some, this sounds like an old narrative, but think about this.
Syria and the next village to where you live is as close because of the internet. I think there's a lot of influence on the internet. A lot of recruitments that have even happened in the Western world.
And so the possibility of a child being a member of the world's most feared, loathed and ruthless militia group like ISIS is actually a reality. But there is more.
When they are local recruiters, children, their status, their financial status will suddenly change. They'll begin to wear expensive clothes, very expensive jewelry, buy expensive phones, A child that is not employed, being able to buy, an iPhone 6, a tablet, slim computers, a parent should be wondering, where are you getting this money from?
Unlike China and other countries, Kenya does not have an institution that has been tasked to monitor what people are viewing online. And even as we speak right now, as my colleagues go on with their work, no one can even tell what they're searching for. Or your child back at home, who is probably on his or her phone right now, you do not know what they're looking for. And according to security experts, until the Kenyan government realizes the risks behind an open cyberspace, that responsibility lies with us. A responsibility that comes with a cost. It is now 7 days since Salwa Abdallah and Tofika Dahir, both in their 20s, disappeared mysteriously. So far, no word from the government. Their families have been crippled since then. And while there is no evidence to show whether they had been in communication with anyone online before their disappearance, a message from Tofika through an online mobile application to her cousin showed that she might have crossed over to Syria, and the possibility of her joining ISIS is not far-fetched. Meanwhile, the fate of her best friend Salwa Abdallah is yet to be known, as she is yet to contact her family. In a case of same script, different casts, let's cross borders to England, where in March 2015, 3 teenagers from northwest London were released on bail after their alleged plans to travel to Syria led to their arrest. 2 17-year-old boys and a 19-year-old were arrested on suspicion of preparation of terrorist acts. In February, 3 girls pictured on this image left London for Turkey with the goal of going to Syria to join ISIS. Authorities later confirmed that they had all possible reasons beyond doubt that the girls were successful. Ian Wafula, KTN.
There's been lots of talk on social media about this next story. Popular talk show host Jeff Koinange has been released on a cash bail after being charged for contempt of court. Koinange and businessman Tony Gashoka found themselves in hot soup after a businessman went to court and sued the pair over a discussion that aired live during an episode of Jeff Koinange live show. Najma Ismail has the details.
Tables were turned today for the ever-bubbly Jeff Koinange when he was put on the bench in the dock at the Milimani courts.
And his lawyer also aware.
He was charged with contempt of court for failing, together with Tony Gashoka, to appear in court of a defamation suit. Nairobi Senior Resident Magistrate Macy Chesang last week issued a warrant of arrest against the two for failing to appear in court to answer charges of contempt.
Tony Gashoka.
They are accused of discussing businessman Jimmy Wanjigi, Sani Mbuyu Wanjigi and Kwacha Group of Companies Limited during KTN's live TV show, Jeff Koinange Live Show, despite a court order barring the discussion.
Gotta keep talking.
Jeff Koinange has been released on a 100,000 shilling cash bail after Senior Principal Magistrate Linus Kasam said that a warrant for his arrest issued 4 days ago did not authorize a jail term. Justice Weldon Korir had on Monday denied Koinange and Gashoka's bids to stop their arrests. Instead, Korir ordered the two to serve Senior Resident Magistrate Macy Chesang with their application for an inter-parties hearing, which they failed to do. After his release, Koinange tweeted to his millions of fans, thanking them for the support and asking them to join him on his talk show, Jeff Koinange Live, that will be airing on KTN Wednesday at 10 p.m. The case will be heard on May 25th. Najma Ismail, KTN Prime.
ODM members of parliament reacted angrily to President Kenyatta's refusal to assent to a bill that would have given the former Prime Minister millions of shillings in pension. They have described the move as malicious, but with Jubilee's superior numbers in parliament, it is highly unlikely for parliament to compel the president to sign the bill. Aaron Ocheng explains.
Political debate in the last few days has centered on CORD leader Raila Odinga and whether he should contest the 2017 general election or retire. The debate has much to do with Raila's supposed pension, which he was to receive substantial amount of money had the president signed the Retirement Benefit of State Officers Bill 2013. Argument from opponents of the bill is that Raila is still very much in active politics and it would not be right for him to be awarded the retirement benefits.
The same day they were claiming that the president refused to assent to the bill, the same day those fellows were talking about how they are going to contest 2017. So we are saying it is either money or the box.
I have never seen a vindictive government such as this one. Why would you stop people from earning their pension just because you fear. Because even members of parliament who have served for 2 terms and lose their seats and pension, that does not stop them from coming back and seeking election and coming back to this house.
But according to CORD members of parliament, Raila should retain his place atop Kenya's political tree because of the benefit he adds to the political scene.
Raila is increasingly reminding Jubilee of what General Buhari did to Goodluck Jonathan in Nigeria. When they think about it, they tremble. Because Jubilee is fearful of Raila becoming the Buhari of Kenya, and he will be, you know, in the fullness of time. So let them keep the pension. We will meet at the ballot.
Raila and Kalonzo, as well as current speakers of the National Assembly and the Senate, would have been entitled to monthly pensions equal to 80% of their last monthly salary in office. As it stands, there's very little that the opposition MPs can do to salvage the Raila-Kalonzo retirement payoff.
For us to veto his amendments, we still will have to do 2/3 to be able to do that. And it is speculation, but safe speculation, that Jubilee will return it with their tyranny of numbers, according to what Uhuru wants, because that is the dictatorship we have seen in this country.
The bill, which was sponsored by Suba Member of Parliament and ODM Chairman John Mbadi, was drafted after retired President Mwai Kibaki rejected the Retirement Benefit Bill 2013. Kibaki refused to assent to the bill just before he left office, after MPs sneaked in hefty payments for themselves, but went ahead to sign another, awarding himself 25 million shillings in pensions and retirement benefits.
If Raila were to leave government, even your newspapers will not be sold. Tell me how many newspapers will be sold without Raila's name in the headline, at Raila retire from politics. It's a big issue.
Raila, who served as Prime Minister from 2008 to 2013, would have been the biggest beneficiary of the bill had it been signed by the President. He would have been given a lump sum payment equal to 1.5 years' salary paid for each term served. The former Prime Minister and Vice President were on a monthly salary of 1.7 million shillings before leaving office.
You are cheating that you are retiring and you are not retiring, then what do you want to do? You want the President to sign a corruption deal, because that is a corruption deal that the CORD leaders want the President to do.
Offices and politics are very different. There are people who are in parliament now who have been working in government, got their pensions, and are still in government.
In addition, Raila would have been entitled to 2 saloon vehicles with an engine capacity not exceeding 2,000 cc, replaceable after every 4 years, 1 4-wheel drive vehicle with a maximum engine capacity of 3,000 cc, monthly fuel allowance equivalent to 15% of the last monthly salary, medical cover providing local and overseas treatment for himself and his wife Ida. Additional benefits include 2 drivers, a personal assistant, secretary, a housekeeper, 2 armed guards, diplomatic passports, access to VIP sections to all airports, and maintenance expenses for the vehicles.
We will fight it accordingly, whether it is on the floor of the House, whether it is in the corridors of court, or inside the courtroom, or in the court of the public opinion. We will fight these guys in alleys or in thistles.
ODM has described the President's move as malicious, citing an example of neighboring Tanzania, where former Prime Minister Frederick Sumaye, who is on retirement parks, ran against President Kikwete and is already campaigning for the next presidential election. Aaron Ocheng, KTN.
Let's focus on security now. Kenya's border security has once again come into sharp focus after Ethiopian forces casually trooped into the country and headed to a police station in Marsabit. Reports from the area indicate that the heavily armed soldiers spent about half an hour without giving an explanation for their action. Wilson Mburu tells us more.
The Kenyan security forces were seemingly caught off guard when a contingent of Ethiopian soldiers reportedly armed with AK-47 rifles arrived at the Ileret police station in North Horr constituency, Marsabit County, with no explanation or prior communication on the same. The soldiers, numbering about 50, reportedly checked into the station in 10 vehicles during morning hours, after which they proceeded to carry out a survey of the area and even went ahead to take pictures. Marsabit Governor Ukur Yatani says he heard about the issue, but added that it wasn't a major security concern for the county. The County Commissioner Benjamin Kogo, who spoke to KTN on phone, however, said he did send an alert to Nairobi over the matter.
The officers who were on the station could not exactly know what was their intention and what they were after. We have already sent a signal to that effect, and we are trying also to get our counterparts across, administrators across in Ethiopia.
Yes.
We could not manage because I think there is an impending election which is going on now. I think they are very busy in the preparation of the elections.
This is the third time Ethiopian forces have crossed into Kenya this year, and in all those instances have caught Kenyan authorities off guard. According to a brief from the Inspector General of Police, Joseph Boynet's office in Nairobi, their intention was not clear. The Kenya Defence Forces, however, dismissed the report, saying Ethiopia is a friendly nation not capable of carrying out such an operation. Wilson Buru, KTN.
That story is the basis of our big question tonight. It is a security discussion. Again, we are asking you, should the Kenyan government confront the Ethiopian government over intrusion into Marsabit?
Let us know what you think. You can tweet us at KTN Kenya, at Ben_Kitili, and of course at Linda Ogutu. All right, let's still stay with that story and bring in Byron Odera. He's joining us from our I&M studio in town, ex-Special Forces. Byron, thank you so much for joining us. You have a group of heavily armed Ethiopian forces, over 50 to be precise, and they come in 10 cars armed. What are your thoughts about that, and putting in mind that government officials say they had no idea that these people were even there? Byron, can you hear me?
Yes, I can now.
Byron, we're looking at this story about Ethiopian soldiers crossing into Kenya. Of course, at Marsabit, you have a group of heavily armed soldiers, about 50 of them. They came in about 10 cars. They went into a police station, took over the police station, took pictures, and then left without giving any explanation. What are your thoughts on that particular incident in Marsabit?
Okay, without going into the intricacies and the complexities of the bilateral agreements between the nations, I'd like to say there's been a cordial and very friendly relationship between the two governments, dating back to the first government, and this ideally shouldn't be interpreted as an act of aggression. Isolated as it might seem, people may have different thoughts about it, but I'd like to say that it shouldn't also escape the information that's given to the general public as to our preparedness to inform them accordingly as to when and where such take place, and prevent any misinformation on the part of the public, and anything that could be misinterpreted in such light.
Byron, here's the thing. I know there are agreements between probably these two nations, but you have soldiers. They walk into your territory. They do not speak to anyone. They take pictures. They go back to their country. You have a county commissioner who says, I do not know, I was not aware that these people are supposed to come in. So essentially, let's focus on protocol. Assuming they even had reason to come into Kenya, what would be the protocol for them to come in and do whatever it is they wanted to do, assuming they wanted to gather information, take pictures? What would be the protocol?
Okay. At the strategic level, you would expect a lot of relationship in terms of passage and information. You would expect the Foreign Affairs Ministry to be involved in such a matter. It would go down obviously all the way to the military, and right down at the tactical level where you have the county commissioner's involvement, the basic police stations, the people that are obviously on border patrols, and stuff like that. So we could be tempted to imagine there was a breakdown in information. I want to draw you back to the elements of national power. Military being one of them, you'd be thinking about the national will, where the people come in. And you'd imagine such an effort at having these players be involved. So the protocol at the strategic level could be very intricate, but then you'd expect quite very fine information reaching that particular police station, so there wouldn't be a need for unnecessary confusion. You would be expecting the general public not being in a situation of indecisive fear, which might be the case now. So again, we need to address the way we deal with what you could call information pathology. So the right information getting to the right people at the right time, in the right way. And if it's not, we have historical cases of this having happened in the past.
Okay.
Yeah.
Byron, you're saying we need to fix how information probably trickles down. We already have security issues on the Kenyan border with Somalia, and now you have Ethiopian forces crossing over. Apparently, this is the third time they're doing this since the beginning of the year. Would you say it's time Kenya started manning its border with Ethiopia?
Absolutely, yes. I mean, we have quite a serious problem with regard to the cross-border incursions and the way we have free human traffic, unwanted and warranted. And it's time, obviously, we've had effort at constructing a wall. At the strategic level, obviously, you have a lot of things happening in the background, which may not be open to the public, but obviously needs to be for public consumption, so as to build that kind of awareness, and secondly, confidence in the fact that we are doing everything to take care of our borders, to take care of our interests.
Byron Odera joining us from our I&M studio in town. Byron, thank you so much. Of course, you're focusing on that story where over 50 armed soldiers came into Kenya. They crossed the border, reportedly took over a police station, took pictures, and then they just left. Area leaders say they're not aware these people were even supposed to be there. And of course, this is raising very pertinent security questions. This is a story that we are focusing. We'll keep asking the questions, digging in to find out what exactly happened. You're staying with KTN. Thank you so much for staying with us. Let's move over to Taita Taveta now. Over 100 youth from Meru County are stranded in Voi town after jobs they had been promised at the standard gauge railway turned out to be a hoax. According to the desperate youth, they were told to travel to Voi for immediate jobs, but the person who invited them could not be traced when they arrived. Fatma Pole with that story.
As early as 4 a.m. in the morning, the hundreds of desperate job seekers were dropped by a bus at the Voi bus station. They were to wait for their team leader who will supposedly deliver them to the promised land. In this case, the standard gauge railway Manyani site, where they'll be recruited for job positions such as drivers, fork movers and mechanics. But several hours later, they realized that something was amiss.
Tukamsubiri, tukampigia simu, mara anasema ako Meru, mara anasema ako huko tunaenda kufanya kazi, mpaka watu wakafikia mahali wakaanza kuchanganyikiwa.
I just met the local MPs and the local MCAs who had come to visit the contractor just to check whether that information was correct, again on the basis that their young men had been laid off because foreigners were being employed.
They claimed that while in Meru County, arrangements had been made by their CDF office. They were required to pay 1,500 shillings each as money to cater for their trip to Voi.
Andimo sasa hatujamwona. Sasa tutasubiri hapa na usiku tutalala wapi na hatuna pesa.
Walikuwa wametanganywa. Sisi tumepata namba za hiyo mtu amtanganya. Tumeongea na hiyo watu warudi Meru, lakini meantime tunaendelea kufanya investigation tukamata hiyo mtu na tumstaki kwa kuwatanganya na kuchukua pesa yao.
All they had wanted was to make their lives better, but now many of them have since given up on the job. Heartbroken and helpless, some have even resorted to borrowing bus fare from their relatives so that they can make arrangements to go back to their homes.
Hii mambo huko Meru yameharibika sana. Ajira huko Meru imeharibika, hakuna kazi, hakuna hata kibarua.
They say their desperation is what pushed them to fall prey to what they are calling the con game. Though the government has created job opportunities for several youth through the SGR project, they claim that Meru County is not represented. Fatma Pole, KTN.
Kenya's border security is the basis of a big question discussion tonight, and we are asking you, should Kenya confront the Ethiopian government over intrusion into Marsabit?
Right, this is after about 50 heavily armed Ethiopian soldiers and police officers crossed the border and reportedly took over a police station. Nixon Courage says the government has to question the Ethiopian government and military should stop saying they're a friendly nation.
Mufea Fred says Kenya security forces should react. Ethiopian troops shouldn't take advantage of the good relationship with Kenya.
Kansai Yasaye says the Kenyan government should be more careful and vigilant concerning the border.
Kiprono Brian is saying that it's a tricky situation. We need to seek good information first and the information flow.
Brian Musili finally says, yes, why did they trespass without the government of Kenya's consent?
You're watching KTN Prime. Many thanks for staying with us. We take a quick break. When we come back, we'll be telling you the story of a reformed cattle rustler.
You're watching KTN Prime. Thank you for staying with us.
Now, the counties of West Pokot, Samburu and Turkana have been in the headlines for all the wrong reasons. Incidents of banditry and cattle rustling have claimed lives of both members of rival communities as well as security personnel. But tonight we have a positive story from the Pokot-Marakwet border. Let's now cross live to KTN's Mercy Kandie in Eldoret. Mercy.
Yes, indeed, positive stories of reformed cattle rustlers within the North Rift region. They have been known to, steal cattle from their neighboring communities. This is the Marakwet and the Turkana. But for this particular reformed warrior who we spoke to today is one who has reformed 25 others. He is among the 1,000 reformed Pokot cattle rustlers. Take a look at this story.
The skies portray a stillness, calm and beauty that might just be a reflection of what is going on the ground. Peace and quiet along the Marakwet-Pokot border, and peace in the mind and life of one man. We maneuver through the muddy terrain of Koloa to meet the once most wanted man in East Pokot, 35-year-old Loseroko Adepangole, who on his first raid as a teenager got away with 6 cows.
Kauza hizo ng'ombe na kanunua bunduki yake yeye mwenyewe sasa. Akaendelea kufamia jamii wengine ya Turkana kwa muda mrefu sana akitumia hiyo bunduki yake.
And it was the kind of activity he found his father and forefathers doing, cattle rustling.
Kwa anapata story kwamba watu ndio wapate kupata wanyama ni lazima wafamie jamii fulani kama Turkana vile, na yeye alijiunga na kundi yake ya Ngoroko.
For Adepangole, though, that changed. The tool for survival in his hand now is a hoe, not the gun. He surrendered it to the chief 3 years ago. The village, through a fundraiser, enabled him buy a generator to pump water from River Kerio to his farm. After all, the success of his farming translated to peace in the region.
So anaomba Wapokotu wabadilike kutoka hii mambo ya uhasama ya kuiba ng'ombe na kuingia kwa kilimo.
Adepangole has now employed 4 other reformed warriors to work in the farm among the 25 he helped reform.
Angeomba serikali wapate kusaidia watu 25 kwa sababu yataleta mabadiliko mwingi sana kwa hii jamii.
This is his territory. Adepangole knows he has to nurture his newly acquired activity, set a great example for the future generation.
The very high temperatures can make it difficult to come to the farm on a daily basis, but Adepangole tells me there's nothing as difficult or as tough as being a cattle rustler, preferring his new way of life, farming. Mercy Kandie, KTN, Koloa, East Pokot Sub-County.
Thank you, Mercy. Let's now move to Nyeri County in the upcoming beatification ceremony. In a bid to boost security and order during the beatification ceremony, taxi owners who will be operating in town, Nyeri town, that is, during the 3 days, have to acquire a special pass. KTN Central Kenya reporter Karen Derry also explains to us why the British Army will have a special place in the beatification ceremony.
Taxis that will be ferrying pilgrims during the 3-day beatification ceremony will be expected to have special stickers for identification. Those operators who will not have complied with the directive will not be allowed to access some of the designated areas. For that special pass, each taxi operator will have to part with 3,000 shillings. 300 vehicles have so far registered for the car sticker.
We have taken the particulars of the driver, the owner of the vehicle, and we have captured all the data of the vehicle.
The other vehicles which have got no other details and they are not registered, we are not going to allow them at least to go beyond a certain extent, because out of all this they are public, and we'd like at least to know the safety of all these people.
The beatification event will commence on Friday with a night vigil at Gikondi area of Mokorene, where Sister Irene lived for 15 years. The main event will be held at the Dedan Kimathi University of Technology on Saturday, and on the third and last day, there will be a procession from Mathari Central Chapel, where her remains are presently stored under lock and key. British Army soldiers from Nanyuki British Army Training Units camp will be involved in removing the casket containing the relics. Warrant Officer 1, Regimental Sergeant Major John Curran, who is in charge of the group, said the involvement of the British Army is because Sister Stephanie treated injured soldiers during the First World War.
Myself and some of my colleagues are rehearsing for Sister Irene's on Sunday.
The box containing the holy remains will be placed there. This is what we shall give thanks with, and this is what will be transported still with the military honor to Cathedral.
Sister Stephanie was between 1913 to 1915 involved in treating of fighters in Tanzania during the war. She was later appointed a head cook for European and local personnel. The British Red Cross also awarded her a medal for her work. The British soldiers will on Sunday march from Mathari to St. Mary's Boys Secondary School in Nyeri Town, a distance of about 7 kilometers for the Thanksgiving ceremony. Most hotels and lodges have increased their rates in anticipation of cashing in on the global event. Many have doubled up or even tripled their usual rates. Final preparations to spruce up the town are in top gear. And it is for these reasons that her virtues have been exalted, with the church leaders calling on Kenyans to try be anyada in the best way they can. Carol Derry, KTN, Nyeri County.
Well, a warm welcome on KTN Business. Let's take a look at what's been making headlines across the world. My name is Abi Agina. Importers and businessmen are losing significant revenue during shipping and transportation due to lack of proper methods in procurement, service level agreements, and use of inconsistent methods of calculating logistical costs, according to the Pilot Sector Report Audit. With the Shippers Council of Eastern Africa, most firms are not keen on key factors that could reduce their expenditure on transport and supply chain, making trade in the region uncompetitive. KTN's Charles Gitonga kicks off our business bulletin.
A 2010 World Bank report estimated that transport and logistical costs account for about 42% of total expenses for a typical importer in the East African region. Such high margin costs are said to be influenced by both internal and external factors, especially when importers are not keen with outsourcing logistical services. In the pilot audit report of this sector, the Shippers Council of Eastern Africa has pointed out that despite bottlenecks stemming from the service providers, cargo owners are also responsible for uncoordinated logistical operations and outdated practices.
We also found out that computing of logistics costs was neither here nor there.
The audit, carried out using a sample of 5 logistics companies in the country, notes that most industry players are focusing more on third-party agencies instead of managing the logistics costs within their control. The spillover effect of this is higher cost of doing business, therefore making them less competitive when compared to other players in other African economies.
You're producing rice in Thika, you're competing with a rice manufacturer in Cairo. Yeah? His raw materials come, he can turn over his stocks at least 6 times a year. You're turning over your stocks at best twice a year. How then do you become globally competitive?
The organizations have also been found to pay no attention on management of importation and exportation costs, such as sea and air freight, insurance, and port handling charges. In addition, there seems to be lack of proper understanding of industry trends, such as the introduction of the single window system among most sector players. However, firms in the logistics business are calling for a unified system in clearing and forwarding of goods at the port of Mombasa to reduce the cost of waiting and storage incurred due to the bureaucracy. Charles Gitonga, KTN Business.
Many thanks there, Charles. And now to a story that might interest traders across the country. Kenya Power has lowered street lighting tariff in a bid to promote the sustainability of its public lighting program. According to Kenya Power, the Energy Regulatory Commission agreed to set the tariffs at 4 shillings and 35 cents, a near 60% drop from the previous 11 shillings and 35 cents. The move will enable county governments to reduce their monthly power bills while ensuring the major commercial and trading centers are lit. The power distributors' lighting plan is also expected to ease security fears and around markets, leading to the extension of operating hours. Kenya Power is currently upgrading 4,200 streetlights within the use of LED lights to save on energy costs and improve on quality of lighting. The company secured 953 million shillings from the National Treasury, with the project expected to be replicated across the country.
Recognize that the county governments cannot be able to maintain this infrastructure because they don't have the capacity. And even if they were to try it, there'll be duplication between KPSC and them. And so we would actually bleed. Even as we roll it out to other counties, we would wish to have an MOU where we shall be maintaining, the lighting in terms of repairing and, other general maintenance programs. And so an MOU will be placed. We also want to add, for purposes of appreciating the cost, that the ERC, the regulator, has reduced the cost of street lighting from 11 shillings to now 4 shillings 35 cents.
Well, indeed, a step in the right direction towards making Kenya a 24-hour economy. Retail chain Nakumatt is auditing its pricing system following reports of tampering that has seen customers raise queries over price inconsistencies. Nakumatt is conducting an internal review of the systems but has already pointed out that delays in updating shelf price stickers could be the problem. According to the retail chain, it employs a one-price policy, meaning product prices are similar across all its branches. Nakumatt customers had taken to social media last week querying the different shelf prices and what they paid. The challenge is, however, not unique to Nakumatt, with other retail stores said to have had the same issue. To eliminate the discrepancies, Nakumatt says it will be introducing digital price checker kiosks on all its aisles at its branches. This will enable customers confirm product pricing by scanning the product barcodes, getting the accurate cost of the product. Nakumatt has 38 branches spread across the region and has been on an expansionary mode to grow its outlets and boost revenue. Well, a question there of corporate governance. Let's now take a look at how the shilling performed against other currencies in our financial report. Well, and that's all we had time for here on KTN Business. My name is Abi Agina. Do have yourselves a lovely evening. Coming up next is Sports with Lynn Washira.
A very good evening and a warm welcome to tonight's edition of KTN Sports. I'm Lynn Washira. After ending the 2014-2015 season with victory in the ball category, the National Rugby Sevens team returned home today, well aware that the future needs more planning for better results. Kenya finished 13th on the log, and the next assignment will be to qualify for the Rio 2016 Olympics.
By all standards, Kenya's performance in the 2014-2015 World Rugby Sevens series was disappointing. Shujaa at least came home with a silverware following their ball victory in the final leg in London Sevens. The win saw Felix Ochieng's sides collect 8 points to finish 13th overall on 46 points, a dip from last year's season where Kenya was ranked 7th with 84 points. The overall poor show is not just a wake-up caller to the administrators, but also for the team, especially given that the route to the Rio Olympics is now longer.
With regards to the potential that the team has shown, it just goes to prove, with hard work and consistency, we can go out there, we can post some really good results.
This season has gone. It's something that we need to put behind us very fast. We need to build a team that will be able to present this country very well.
The Olympic qualifier set for November in South Africa means one thing, that Shujaa will have to win all matches to save face and qualify to the games. Colin Sinjera, who scored his 200th try, admits the end of season was Kenya's toughest.
Mchezo huu unabadilika, unaenda ukibadilika. Na saa zingine kama vile mnavyojua michezo inakuanga, kuna saa mtakuwa sawa, kuna saa itakuwa vitu zitakuwa zinaendelea. Mnaweza kuwa mnajaribu lakini bado vitu.
And moving on, Ulinzi Stars striker John Makwata is the second player to win the SportsPesa Sports Journalists Association Footballer of the Month award. Gor Mahia's Ali Abondo won the Month of Match award that comes with a prize money of 50,000 Kenya shillings. In a brief ceremony following the team's training session at Afraha Stadium today, Makwata was escorted in a military style by Captain Steve Ochola and goalkeeper James Saruni to receive the award from SportsPesa Chief Marketing Officer Kesta Shimonyo. The striker was accorded a standing ovation by the playing unit in the presence of the club's team manager Joe Birgen and coach Robert Matano. The award is a brainchild of the Sports Journalists Association of Kenya. Makwata has scored 7 goals in the current Kenyan Premier League and has assisted his colleagues score goals as well. Ulinzi Stars are 4th in the 16-team Kenya Premier League with 20 points from 11 matches after winning 6 matches, drawing twice and losing thrice.
Yes, well done, well done.
The management ya Ulinzi au pia na wameniwezesha nimecheza magame. Then na thank pia mafans wangu, watu wananisupport, wananipush sana. Then training, my teammates pia wananipea hiyo morale, najipush kama individual. Then pia coach finishing nafanya sana.
And to some athletics news now, 5,000 meters Commonwealth champion Caleb Mwangangi, who is yet to kick off his 2015 season, says his absence from the track this season is nothing to be worried about. The 2014 Sportsman of the Year winner says his main focus this year is the World Athletics Championships in Beijing later in the year.
The game's record of all.
The 2014 season literally belonged to Caleb Mwangangi, who dominated the 3,000 meters and 5,000 meters races, winning in all the races he lined up for. He bagged the World Indoor title, the Commonwealth Games title, the African title, the World Cup title, as well as the Diamond League trophy. Fast forward to 2015, and the 2-time African champion is yet to kick off his season and even missed out on the World Cross Country Championships. Is there anything to be worried about?
I decided to rest because my body was like exhausted, but right now I'm getting back very well. I'm okay. I have no problem. So soon and very soon I'll be 100%, and then I'll be doing my races in Europe.
Mwangangi is just back to Machakos, where he's taking it easy in training after 6 weeks of intense training in E10, and after watching a few races, he does admit that resting is a luxury he cannot afford.
The guy looks to be in shape, as what I saw indoor, and then I'm going to improve in my workouts as well, because I want to be as good as they are.
The World Indoor and World Cross Country champion says his feet are permanently directed to the World Athletics Championships, a title he's yet to taste.
After winning the Diamond League last year, I've got the World Cup direct to the World Championships. But I cannot say that I'm not going to run in the World Championship Kenyan trials. I'll be there to face the rest of the Kenyans.
The last time a Kenyan won the 5,000 meters world title was in 2003 through Eliud Kipchoge. So can Mwangangi break the decade-long jinx?
I cannot promise that I'm going to win the World Championship. But what I believe is that I'm one among the men who can do it. I said the buffalo, and I can get the title back home if all things go well, because my body right now is responding positively.
To him, the season is still young, and it's important to pick his races wisely.
We are going to check the body, whether it's 100% to start the season, and then soon and very soon I'll be racing. I'll see on which race to go.
maybe Oregon or Lausanne.
The World Athletics Championships will go down at the Beijing's Bird's Nest later in August.
Okay, so here's the thing. About 50 heavily armed Ethiopian soldiers and police officers crossed the border and reportedly took over Ileret police station. They inspected the area, took photos of the area, which is about 16 kilometers from the border. And that forms the basis of a big question tonight. We were asking you, should Kenya confront the Ethiopian government over intrusion into Marsabit?
Silent invasion was a hashtag on Twitter, and a lot of you have texted in and tweeted your views. And Charles Opil says, while Kenya is busy overrunning Somalia, Ethiopia is invading the homeland.
Interesting one. Mohammed Hersi says, hey, my fellow Kenyans, relax. Ethiopia is a very friendly nation. It's home to African Union and they respect their neighbors more so Kenya.
Abdul Mohammed on Twitter says the government needs to reassure its citizens that our homeland security is not compromised.
At DJ Migingo says, yes, the Foreign Affairs Cabinet Secretary should have sent a protest note to Addis Ababa by now.
Michelle Ngele says, the state of our nation's security is too delicate. Ethiopian government must be confronted.
Nixon Korir says the government has to question the Ethiopian government and military should stop saying they are a friendly nation.
And Esther on Twitter also tweets that I hope the government is not waiting for Ethiopia to strike so that they react.
Hassan Abdile says there should be no cause for alarm. The two countries enjoy a good cordial relationship. I trust it shall be resolved.
Many thanks for your SMSs and tweets on Silent Invasion tonight.
Indeed, for being part of KTN Prime. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a good night. I'm Linda Ogutu.
I'm Ben Kitili. Good night from the KTN News Center.